Audrey Werro just beat Femke Bol again in Lausanne, but this time it took almost everything she had. Femke came flying down the home straight, broke the Dutch 800-meter record, and still finished second. The finish was tiny, but what happened before it tells the bigger story. On August 21, 2026, the women's 800 meters at Athletissima in Lausanne brought together two runners moving in very different directions. Werro arrived as one of the strongest 800-meter runners in the world and had not lost an outdoor race over the distance in 2026. Femke was still in her first outdoor season as an 800-meter runner after moving away from the 400-meter hurdles. Werro had already made it clear that she wanted a fast race. Before the meeting, she said she hoped to reach 400 meters in about 55.5 seconds, close to the pace she used when she ran 1:53. 80 in Paris on June 28, Dutch 400-meter runner Meert van der Scoot was chosen as pacemaker, so there was no mystery about the plan. Werro wanted the field moving hard from the gun. That is exactly what happened. Van der Scoot took the race through the first lap at a punishing speed, and Werro stayed right behind her. Athletissima later noted that Werro reached halfway around 2 seconds faster than Jarmila Kratochvilova had during her 1:53.28 world record race in 1983. That pace gave Werro control, but it also created a problem. The first lap had taken a lot out of her, and the second lap turned from a time chase into a fight to survive. Saidat Sehai of Ethiopia was the first runner to put real pressure on Werro. She moved up as the field came toward the final bend, while Femke stayed close enough to keep herself in the race. Werro still had the lead, but the smooth front-running rhythm from the first lap was gone. Then the race changed again in the final straight. Femke had saved more for the finish, and she started closing hard. Her background as a world-class 400-meter runner showed right away. She began cutting into Werro's lead with every step, and the finish suddenly looked much less certain than it had 100 meters earlier. Werro was tiring, but she did not break. She held her form, kept driving, and reached the line in 1:55.33. Femke crossed just behind in 1:55.41, while Sehai finished third in 1:56.92. That result gave both women something historic. Werro's 1:55.33 broke the Lausanne meeting record of 1:55. 69 set by Keely Hodgkinson on August 20, 2025. Femke's 1:55.41 became the fastest women's 800 meters ever run by a Dutch athlete. The Dutch record had belonged to Ellen van Langen, who ran 1:55.54 when she won Olympic gold in Barcelona on August 3, 1992. Femke had already matched that mark at the European Championships in Birmingham on August 14, 2026. 7 days later, she finally went faster. That is what makes the Lausanne results so brutal for Femke. She did something Dutch women's 800-meter runners had been trying to do for more than 3 decades, but the race still ended with Werro in front. At the same time, it would be wrong to frame Femke's result as a failure. She had just produced the best 800-meter performance of her life, and she did it in a race where she still believed she could have made better decisions. After Lausanne, Femke spoke about needing to trust herself more during the middle part of the race. She said she still has to learn when to push instead of protecting herself too much. That matters because her problem was not that she lacked the speed to stay with the leaders. Her own comments suggest she is still learning how to use that speed across 2 full laps. One key moment came before that final charge. Femke later said she was frustrated that she allowed Sehai to move past her on the back straight even though she still felt strong. That forced her to react later instead of moving when she first had the chance. In a race decided by less than 1/10 of a second, a small hesitation like that can matter. It also explains why Femke left Lausanne encouraged rather than crushed. She knew the national record, proved her fitness was there, while the race itself showed her where she could still become sharper. Werro had her own reasons to be satisfied. She had won the European title in Birmingham on August 14, only 7 days before Lausanne, and said afterward that she felt more tired than usual because of the short turnaround. She also went out harder than she needed to in Lausanne, paid for it late, and still found a way to win. So the race told us something important about both athletes. Werro showed she can survive when a race gets messy and painful. Femke showed she can now turn a top-level 800 into a fight all the way to the line. That is where the story moves beyond Lausanne. These two have met 4 times outdoors over 800 meters in 2026, and Werro has won every one of them. But the races have not looked the same. Their first meeting came in Ostrava on June 16, 2026. It was Femke's first outdoor 800-meter race, and she ran 1:57.3. Werro won in 1:54.45, leaving a gap of 2.68 seconds. 12 days later, they met again at the Paris Diamond League on June 28. Werro ran a stunning 1:53.80, while Femke improved to 1:55.60. The gap dropped to 180 seconds, and Femke moved to within 0.06 of the Dutch record. The third race came at the European Championships in Birmingham on August 14. Werro won gold in a championship record 1:54.81. Keely Hodgkinson took silver in 1:55.01, and Femke earned bronze in 1:55.54. That race gave Femke a share of the Dutch record and showed that she could stay much closer to Werro in a championship setting. Then Lausanne cut the difference again. The numbers are simple. 2:68 seconds in Ostrava, 1:80 in Paris, 0.73 in Birmingham, and 0.08 in Lausanne. Werro is still undefeated against Femke outdoors over 800 meters, but the trend is obvious. Every meeting has become harder for Werro to control. The bigger reason is how quickly Femke has learned the event. She announced in October 2025 that she would shift her focus from the 400-meter hurdles to the 800 meters. That was a huge move. Femke had already built her career around speed, rhythm, and barriers, but the 800 requires different pacing, different positioning, and a different kind of pain in the final 200 meters. Her first outdoor 800 in Ostrava was 1.57 in 33. By August 21 in Lausanne, she was down to 1:55.41. That is an improvement of 1.72 seconds in just over 2 months. She has also learned how crowded and tactical the event can be. In the hurdles, Femke had her own lane. In the 800, she has to judge when to move, when to stay patient, and how much energy to save. Lausanne showed both sides of that learning process. She gave Werro room early, but her finish nearly erased all of it. Werro, though, remains the standard in this matchup. Her 2026 season has been much more than 4 wins over Femke. On June 7th in Stockholm, she ran 1:53.98 and beat Olympic champion Keely Hodgkinson, who finished in 1:54.33. On June 28th in Paris, Werro lowered her best to 1:53.80, moving to 3rd on the world all-time list. Then she showed she could handle championship pressure. On August 14 in Birmingham, she beat Hodgkinson and Femke to win the European title. 1 week later in Lausanne, she won again, even though the race unfolded very differently. That range matters. Werro can run from the front, she can survive a fast pace, and she has shown she can win when the finish gets tight. That is why Femke's progress is so interesting. She is not chasing a weak target. She is chasing one of the best 800-meter runners in the world. And the next test is already close. Werro and Femke are both set to race at Weltklasse Zürich on August 27, 2026. The field also includes Keely Hodgkinson, world champion Lilian Odira, and Georgia Hunter-Bell. That means Lausanne was not a one-off showdown. It was another step in a rivalry that keeps getting tighter. The most important thing to remember is that Lausanne gave us 2 different messages at the same time. Werro is still the winner, still unbeaten outdoors over 800 meters in 2026, and still the runner Femke has not solved. But Femke is no longer just trying to prove she belongs in the event. She already does. On August 21, she became the fastest Dutch woman ever over 800 meters. and came within one final step of beating Werro. That is why this rivalry now feels different. Werro is still dropping the hammer, but Femke is getting close enough that every small tactical choice now matters. The next time they hit the home straight together, Werro may not get the same ending.